have a counterclockwise circulation like this. So it is a broad rotation, but it is enough that the Weather Service decided to go ahead and issue a tornado warning on it. So again, tornado warning continues for Carroll County until 4:30, kind of widening out here, and we're kind of getting the same situation that we had last Tuesday, where we had these storms that were taking on this configuration of a backward C, and I'll draw that for you so you can see what I'm talking about. These are bowing segments right here. This is called a bow echo. And a lot of times on the very top end of these, you'll get what's called what we call a bookend vortex. Basically, it's like the bookend of on a bookshelf. It curls up like this. So you'll get this rotation, this broad rotation of this area of low pressure where the top end of the storm is kind of curling up as it bows out. And sometimes you can get an area of rotation associated with that. So the area that we're watching very carefully is this area to the south and west of Westminster, where we could be looking at the possibility of a tornado there. So right now, if you live in areas really south of New Windsor or up towards Westminster, you need to be taking your immediate tornado precautions now. This interior room, the lowest floor, stay away from windows. A basement's the best place to be, but if you can't get there, lowest floor, middle part of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, as that potential tornado is located just to the southwest there near the Westminster area. So again, this will continue tracking off towards the northeast. I believe the storm motion on these is towards the east-northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So again, we're continuing to watch these storms as they make their way closer to the Baltimore area. If anything, areas to the south of this tornado warning are going to be seeing wind damage. So what we're going to be looking at are winds blowing into the back of this system that's going to be pushing into places like Reisterstown, Eldersburg, and Sykesville. So really the apex of the bow, if you will, or the point of it, which is right here, right where you see that little point, right in that vicinity is where you're going to be seeing the strongest winds as it pushes areas really south of Westminster and getting towards Reisterstown. So again, I'm going to put on the velocity so you can see exactly what we're looking at here with this rotation, and I'll put this into motion so you can see how this evolved. And as it tracks northeast, you can see how that green and red is touching each other right in that last frame. Again, it's not a very tight circulation, but it is enough that the Weather Service felt they need to put a tornado warning on it. So nonetheless, we have that tornado warning that goes for another half hour or so for Carroll County. These storms will eventually be making their way into the Baltimore area. The I-95 corridor, possibly by about 5:30, at least areas north of Baltimore City. So some of these same areas that were affected last week by the damaging winds, probably going to be affected by this next bow echo as it moves through. So that would include areas like Westminster, Hampstead, and also towards the Reisterstown area, Randallstown, all the way perhaps as far south as the Woodlawn area in western parts of Baltimore City. So you get the idea here that this entire area is going to be affected by this entire band of storms. And I'll put a storm track on that one so you can see where it's headed. It looks like it's moving northeast at about 40, so it kind of gives you an idea of where the entire squall line is going to be headed. Lockern at about just a little before 4:30, Pikesville at 4:27, Owings Mills. Now, this is not for the tornado part. This is for the damaging wind threat. Owings Mills, 4:21. And, of course, getting into Reisterstown here within the next 15 minutes. That is the potential for damaging wind gusts, 50 to 60 miles an hour, severe thunderstorm warning in effect all the way eastward to western Baltimore County. But, again, the tornado warning has been issued for Carroll County until 4:30. As you can see, that circulation now is just to the south and west of Westminster. You can clearly see the greens and reds that are co-located here. And this is what we look for, where the winds are blowing towards the radar site, which is down in Sterling, Virginia. You can see right there. So the wind's blowing in that direction, the wind's blowing away. And when we look for a tightening or strengthening circulation, or the possibility of a stronger type rotation or potential tornado, we look for the brighter colors. And notice that we're not seeing terribly bright reds and pinks in here. So the circulation is broad, but nonetheless it exists. And we're going to continue to watch that, though, as it moves off towards the north and east here at about 40 miles per hour. So again, if you're in northern portions, central and northern portions of Carroll County, these are the areas that you need to be on the lookout for this possible rotation as it moves up towards Westminster. So Westminster, as this heads up your way, you need to be in your safe place right now. Interior room, lowest floor, away from windows. Downstairs, under something, cover yourself, keep away from windows. Think of duck, D-U-C-K, downstairs, under something. And cover your head and keep away from windows. So again, we've got this bow echo here. We've got another bow echo that is trying to get itself going to the south. This is going to be moving through the district. It's already affecting western portions of Montgomery County. This storm is going to be tracking through Montgomery County into Howard County. So heads up for you, if you live in Howard County, this particular Boeing segment is going to be heading up your way. So affecting places like Dayton, Highland, up towards the Clarksville area, Cooksville, places like that are going to be affected by this next band of storms coming in from the south. Now, the storm off towards the north, of course, is the one that potentially could be giving some problems as far as the possibility of a rotation there approaching the Westminster area. I'm going to take a look at velocity one more time to see if the rotation has intensified at all, and I'm not getting any indications that it has. So it looks like it's pretty much steady state at this point. But at the very least, you're going to get, 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts, particularly on the south side of the circulation, right in this vicinity here. So you can see it pushing in right there. So just to the south of Westminster. So if you live in Reisterstown, the strong winds are going to be headed your way very shortly. So just keep that in mind. When I say very shortly, I'm talking in the next 10 minutes. So you need to take shelter right now if you live in Reisterstown, Holbrook, even Owings Mills. It's going to be moving into Baltimore County very shortly with damaging winds, and that tornado threat remains in effect here with that tornado warning for this circulation that is just to the south of Westminster. I'm going to lap this. I'm going to put like a 30-minute lap so it's not going too far. And you can clearly see what I'm talking about. And what we look for these rotations in these storms, again, we look for the green and the reds and the maroon colors co-located with one another, kind of like that right there. And so there is evidence of rotation in this area just to the south of New Windsor and Westminster, tracking off towards the east and northeast. So again, these areas are going to be affected by that possible rotation, if at the very least, strong winds as it moves in that east-northeast direction at about 40 miles per hour. We've got other storms that are trying to pop up now across parts of Harford County. These are not severe, but some downpours there just to the south of the Bel Air area around Falston. These are going to be heading up towards Aberdeen and I-95 and Port Deposit here shortly. Other showers trying to pop up here in northern Baltimore County. But again, the greatest threat from the storms now, at least the immediate threat, is for western and especially central and northern Baltimore County as this bow echo makes its way towards the north and east. And we did have that low-end threat for tornadoes today, and that's because there's a little bit of spin in the atmosphere for these storms to take advantage of. And it's not your classic tornado-type setup where you have supercell or individual storms with these big hook echoes on them. These are going to be Boeing segments, kind of like what we had last week, where these little bow echoes, we call these bow echoes because they have a backward C kind of look to them, and that indicates that the winds are blowing into the backside of the system just like this, and it spreads that reflectivity out, or reflectivity of the red and yellow that you see there. It spreads it out kind of like that, and it makes it look like a backward C. So whenever you see that signature on radar when we're doing severe weather coverage, you can best believe that areas ahead of that are going to be looking at damaging winds. So Westminster down to Reisterstown, anywhere along the Harford and Baltimore County line, or the Carroll and Baltimore County line, are going to be looking at damaging winds here very shortly. Now, Harford County, you guys will probably get this a little bit later. I'd say by 5:30, those storms will be moving into Harford County. But so they're picking up speed, moving at about 40. They were moving at about 20 to 25 earlier, but they are moving along pretty quickly here. We have not gotten confirmation of a tornado at all on the ground that I could see. And what I'll do is I'll put on our tornado signature here. And what this basically does is it gives you an idea of where there may potentially be rotation that could have produced a tornado, and if there's any debris, if you will, that has been thrown up by the storm. And I'm not seeing anything. What we look for are these uniform colors. You see all the reds here. are basically the radar saying, okay, it's raining out there somewhere. But if you start getting these blue colors here and it starts changing color, the blues and yellows, it says, that's a little different from what I'm seeing everywhere else, and that may potentially be debris. I'm not seeing that right now with this particular rotation. That certainly makes sense because it's not that strong in the first place. So again, this bow echo now approaching far western Baltimore County. So we still have the tornado warning in effect until 4:30, so about another 21 minutes for Carroll County around the Westminster area. But we also have this severe thunderstorm warning that includes western Baltimore County. So you can see there, this thing is basically going to be tracking towards Reisterstown, Hampstead, Butler, Owings Mills, Cockeysville, Moncton. Some of the same areas that were affected last Tuesday by these storms are going to be getting it again, with that possibility of some strong damaging winds pushing on through. So let's reset and widen out the view here and show you what's going on. We have severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect. That includes Loudoun County, Virginia. That also includes western Montgomery County. These are the storms that are going to be moving into Howard County shortly, and then eventually perhaps northern PG County, Anne Arundel County, and then eventually Baltimore City. So I'll draw that one on here for you so you can see this bow echo is going to be heading in this direction. So if you were to extrapolate, it would kind of look like this perhaps in another few minutes, and I'll try to get my drawing tool back on there. So it'll kind of do something like this perhaps over an hour period. So it's going to look something like that over time, where it will spread out and push off to the east with that threat for damaging winds. Now, farther north is where we're tracking that possibility of a tornado there moving in the Westminster area. So again, you need to stay in your safe place. If you live in Westminster or places off to the south, you need to be into your safe place right now as this circulation passes just south of you, between really Westminster and Eldersburg. That's where the area of rotation is going to be tracking here. Again, we're continuing to track these storms. We're on extended coverage right now, where normally we'd have WJZ News at 4 because of this tornado warning that is now in effect for Carroll County, for the Westminster area, and areas to the south between there and Eldersburg over the next several minutes. So again, no immediate signs of a tornado, but damaging winds will likely be a possibility with these storms. Let's send it back over to Vic and Denise.
Okay, Derek, thank you very much. As we continue to track these storms as they move across right now, Carroll County, as he's mentioned, it could possibly move over to Howard County as well a little bit later on today. We want to take a look at some video, though, or at least a picture that's coming in right now. This is from our executive producer's Ring camera. And look at the ominous clouds that are out there in Carroll County.
Yeah, and we've had reports of a lot of lightning coming along with these storms. Very heavy winds. Derek was saying up 50, 60 miles an hour, the winds with these storms. While though he's tracking a tornado, the storms themselves offer a real danger to anybody who's in that area right now. Carroll County around Westminster, right in central Carroll County there.
And of course, we want to keep you safe. And as always, we can't say this enough. Every time we have these storms, great reminders of what you should do should you be in the target area of these storms. First of all, get to a safe place immediately. Go to an interior room on the lowest level of your house and get away from the windows. Stay away from them because there's a possibility of flying debris.
Yeah, last Tuesday we saw people whose lives were saved because they followed this advice, took shelter, and when a tree fell on their roof, they were okay. So once again, go to the lowest level of your house. If you have a basement, get to it. Get to a room with no windows if possible, and get under a sturdy piece of furniture such as a workbench, a heavy table, or a desk as well.
Absolutely. We have some other video we want to show you right now. We have a traffic camera on I-97. There you see the rain coming down. We can see some trees moving about a little bit out there. Cars still be able to make it through, but of course in these types of conditions, should it get even worse, if you're ever out driving, you should obviously do everything you can to get to shelter as quickly as possible. Again, this is one of our traffic cameras on I-97.
And this is near McDaniel College. Again, right now, Carroll County has the real threat, but Derek's been talking about it's moving into Reisterstown within minutes, Derek?
Yes, it looks like it's going to be getting in there very shortly. Now, what I've done is I put a storm track on. It looks like they extended the tornado warning now. This This tornado warning now has been extended a little bit farther towards the north and east, so it includes extreme northeastern Carroll County, far northwestern Baltimore County now. So we've got that rotation there. I'll clear all this off so it makes a little bit more sense to you. But the area of rotation is basically between Westminster and Reisterstown. So you can see it right there. I'll circle it so you can see what we're looking at. The reds and the greens right next to each other is the area of rotation. So if you were kind of looking at it this way, going this way, and basically going this way in a counterclockwise rotation. So right there to the south of Westminster, and we have that new tornado warning that likely is probably going to go, I'd say, until 4:45. Okay, so they've extended it for another 15 minutes to areas to the north and east up towards the Hempstead area and Manchester. So if you live in Westminster, if you live in Manchester, I think the circulation passing just to the south of Westminster, but towards Hempstead and perhaps Manchester, this area of rotation, likely the very top end of this bow echo, is the area that's likely going to have that threat for damaging winds and possibly a weak tornado as it tracks on through. So again, this includes northwest Baltimore County until 4:30. So areas like Hoffmanville up towards Ecklow and St. Paul's, Gunpowder Estates, you guys are in the warning polygon for that possibility of a tornadic circulation heading up your way. Again, it's a weak circulation, but it's enough that the Weather Service felt they needed to extend that warning a little bit farther towards the north and east, and I certainly do not argue with that as it begins to push in that direction. So what we're looking at here, and I'll kind of back things out, and I'll stop the motion on it. And I'm going to actually go, so control room, if you could punch me up, I'm going to come out to the touch screen. If you can punch me up and I can point some things out directly, if you will, where we're going to be looking at this particular storm. Again, the bow echo extends from Westminster all the way down towards, if we can go over the other source, I can show that to you if we can punch that up here. And this is the storm that we're watching that goes from Carroll County down to southwestern portions of Baltimore County. So if we can get that closer view in, we can show you exactly, I can kind of point some things out to you. And again, you can see that that bow echo is the one that is going to be pushing through southern parts of Carroll County into Baltimore County. And it's right on the leading edge of that we see those damaging winds as they approach Reisterstown. So Reisterstown, the winds are coming up on you. Owings Mills, the winds are going to be in your vicinity very shortly. And really anywhere out this area, so places like Dover and Big Spring and Butler, Coopersville, Boring, these winds are going to be pushing in your direction. You can see it right there, the leading edge. Now pushing through the Westminster area, and I'll put a storm track on this so you can see where it potentially could be heading, and it's moving kind of in an east-northeast direction at about 40 miles per hour. And I'm going to try to get some more communities on here for you so you can see if I can do that. And we'll drop this down to, there we go, get this down to, so some of these are, I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with some of these areas here. So the Carrollton area now getting into Reisterstown at 418. So these are some of the areas that are going to be seeing the winds pushing into your region here in the next several minutes. So again, this bow echo is making its way through western Baltimore County up into Carroll County. Tornado warning remains in effect for Carroll County and into extreme northwestern Baltimore County. This goes until 4:30. So this is for a possible rotation that could produce a tornado at any time, a weak tornado. And it's mainly to the south of Carrollton. I'm getting some pretty good indications on velocity that we're getting some fairly strong winds now moving into the Reisterstown area. Let's go over to the radar now, and let's see. I'll go ahead and punch this up, and I'll pull up the reflectivity up so I can just kind of show you exactly what's going on. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to point some things out. So again, we still have that tornado warning that remains in effect. The tornado warning remains in effect for extreme northeastern portions of Carroll County and northwestern sections of Baltimore County. So this vicinity right here where the warning polygon is lighting up here through the northwestern part of the county. The area of rotation is on the top end of this bowing segment. This right here is what we call a bow echo because it bows out because the strong winds are blowing into the backside of it. The top end of these things will sometimes start to curl in on each other because of the strong winds pushing it out. It kind of curls up at the very ends. The top end sometimes will produce a very weak tornado. So that's why the Weather Service put a tornado warning on this particular storm. So that circulation, even though it is broad, it potentially could produce a brief tornado as it tracks through far northeastern sections of Carroll County and far northwestern Baltimore County. Notice that the leading edge of the storms now are pushing into southwest Baltimore County. So Reisterstown, you're getting in on it. Owings Mills, this is going to be heading in this direction. So heads up for you. If you live anywhere along 83, basically from the Beltway northward, you're going to be looking at these strong winds. So that would include Timonium. That would include Cockeysville, maybe even as far south as Towson, Phoenix, Moncton. These are going to be heading in your direction here in the next half hour to 45 minutes. So expect damaging winds in this particular corridor, which includes central and northern Baltimore County and into northwestern and west central Harford County. And this will be through, I'd say, 5:30 or so. And I'm going to actually walk off the screen here. So go ahead and keep that pulled up. And I'm going to come back to the back. And I'm going to pull this out so you can see the other storms that I'm watching, and I'll put this into motion. So the other storms that we're paying close attention to are just off to our south and west. These are moving through Montgomery County. It looks like Howard County now included into that severe thunderstorm warning, which now has been extended, looks like, into portions of Howard County. So, again, this is for the tail end of that bow echo, but we're watching these other storms that are down in Montgomery County and down into Loudoun County, Virginia. These are going to be tracking towards the heart of Baltimore City, northern parts of Anne Arundel County, northern PG County, and then getting into the body of Howard County. So these storms are going to be moving in this direction through, I'd say, about 6 o'clock this evening. So we've got one Boeing segment here. We've got another Boeing segment just off towards the south and west. Of course, we still have that tornado warning that goes perhaps for about another 10 minutes here for parts of northeastern Carroll County and into Baltimore County. So, again, we're continuing to watch the situation. Again, we've got the tornado warning has been canceled, of course, for Carroll County. It has been canceled. The severe thunderstorm warning now canceled for Frederick, Montgomery County. So that is certainly there. But again, let's go back up to this tornado warning here to show you what we're looking at as far as the rotation is concerned. And it still looks broad. It doesn't look like a tight circulation at all. But sometimes these things can spit out a really weak tornado. It looks like the area of concern is going to be crossing over this county line into Baltimore County very shortly. So, again, that tornado warning remains in effect for these areas here until 4:30. So you see it goes to 4:45. So 4:45 for Carroll County, northeast Carroll County, and into northwestern Baltimore County. We also have that severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect here for Baltimore County, western Baltimore County, and that goes until, I believe, that one goes until about 4:30, 4:45 as well. So, again, pretty busy afternoon here. We are going to kind of stay on with this continuing coverage until the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, which should be here in about another 8 minutes or so. And again, the rotation is not very strong. And a lot of times with these bow echoes or with any line of storms that has these tornado warnings on it, the rotations don't really last that long. They tend to last a little bit longer with these bookend vortices or the vortex, the top end of the line of storms that start spinning. Sometimes they can last a little bit longer, but typically these rotations don't hold themselves together very long. But at the very least, where you see this maroon color here is where we're probably getting some pretty decent winds here. And I'll pixel query some of this. And you got some 20, 30 mile an hour winds here. But I do think that the winds perhaps may be a little bit stronger, especially where you're seeing some of these areas where the rain is actually surging outward. You can see it kind of right there. So it doesn't really kind of have that really well-defined signature that it had just even a moment ago. You can see how it doesn't look quite as curled up, or it doesn't look like that sea anymore like it did before. But I still think that there's some pretty decent wind with this as it approaches the Butler area, Cockeysville, and Moncton. This is going to be heading mainly towards the north and east through areas north of Baltimore City. Other storms are trying to pop up now in Baltimore City itself. These are not severe, but around the Catonsville area, down around Woodlawn, Calverton. And these are likely going to continue making their way through the northern part of Baltimore City up towards the north sides of the Beltway. So these are likely going to be heavy rain producers, causing a major inconvenience on the roadways. We've got an extension of the severe thunderstorm warning now into Harford County. So now the Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning now. This goes until 5 o'clock. This is for Baltimore, Baltimore City, Carroll, and Harford County. This is for this Boeing segment, again, that is really moving over the same areas that were affected last week. So hopefully we do not get any additional power outages from what we've already recovered from last week. But unfortunately, it looks like these storms are going to be producing some pretty strong winds. It doesn't look exactly like last week did, which is a good thing, but these storms will still nonetheless produce some damage as they move on through. They've already done so just off towards our west. So a little bit farther to the south and west, again, we're still watching these storms into Howard County and into Montgomery County. These storms, again, capable of producing gusty winds upwards of 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, and the possibility of some small hail as well, certainly some heavy rainfall. But that tornado warning remains in effect here for far northeastern Carroll County and northwestern Baltimore County. That goes until 4:45, and I'm going to check this one last time, and right now the rotation doesn't look terribly impressive. We'll continue to watch it, but let's send it over to Denise and Vic.
All right, thank you, Derek. I believe we have a picture right now from McDonough Road, right near 795, a live camera. There you go. So you can see it's raining very hard. As Derek has been telling us, those storms are going to move into northern Baltimore County, move into the Butler area, the Cockeysville area. People, if you're at home, get ready for those storms. And we do have some tips for you. We call them tornado tips, but anytime you have storms this strong, this kind of behavior is smart.
Oh, most definitely. And also a note about the traffic camera we just saw there. Cars are moving by pretty quickly, and I was noticing the spray from under the wheels. That is perfect conditions for hydroplaning. So slow down, take it easy. If you are at home and you're watching us right now, if you're in the area of any of these storms that could be coming your way, of course, the tornado warning has been dropped for a good portion of the zone, the polygon, as Derek referred to on his forecast a few minutes ago. But if you're in one of those areas, be sure to get to a safe place immediately and go to an interior room, lowest level of your home, get away from the windows, go to the center of the room, and of course get under something very heavy like a piece of furniture, a desk, or whatever. And as Denise pointed out earlier, these tips helped a number of people last week when we had those storms moving through the area.
That's right. There's strong storm tips, really. And also, if you know somebody who lives in the areas that we're talking about who may not be watching television, pick up your phone and call them. Let them know that something like this could be coming, because at this time of the afternoon, not everybody is watching television. Here's another look at 795, this near Cockeysville at this time. Again, rain coming down pretty heavily right now.
And of course, this is also a perfect time that you should grab your phone, download our app, and you can scan the code that we will show you on the screen. You'll get the latest updates from our First Alert weather team, and so you can be prepared whenever we're not on the air, and of course when we're on the air as well. And of course, the other thing you can always do is to text your friends and your neighbors and people that you care about. Let them know about these storms when they're in the area, and they may possibly be affected.
So let's go back over to Derek and find out. We have about another 15 minutes, but the tornado warning, however, has been dropped. Is that right, Derek?
Yeah, that one was dropped, but we got a new one now that's even closer to the city. This would include areas like Mays Chapel, Cockeysville, and the Hampton area. This is a new tornado warning polygon that was just issued. This goes until 4:45, so it's a very brief tornado warning. But again, these circulations don't really last that long, so these are going to be very short-lived tornado warnings. What I want to point your attention to is the area of bright green. So what we're looking at here is what we call shear. And so I know the velocity, the storm relative velocity that we were showing you, this particular product can be a little confusing. This kind of makes it a little bit easier to understand. And what I want to show you is the bright green that you see right here. See that bright green? Notice the scale at the bottom of your screen there. So when you start getting into the bright greens, when it starts getting lighter towards the maroon and then eventually the yellow, that from left to right is stronger. So when you start seeing these bright greens that the radar is saying, yeah, you know what, there's a little spin in there. I don't like that. So the Weather Service decided to go ahead and put a tornado warning on that. And again, I don't argue with them on that one because these things are going to produce very, very tight circulations, very quick ones. And now this one is forming on the very bottom end of that bookend vortex. You remember we were talking at the top end, sometimes you can get it kind of spinning backwards and forming a rotation. Now we're getting a little bit of rotation perhaps on the leading edge of the bottom end of this. So perhaps kind of something like this. And I will draw it for you, kind of like this. So it's kind of curling in like that. And sometimes you can get a little brief tornado forming on the tail end of that. So again, Mays Chapel, really I would say just to be on the safe side, the Towson area, although I think this will track just north of you, Towson, you need to be in your safe place right now. It's definitely Cockeysville. You need to be in your safe place right now. Really anywhere along the north side of the Beltway where it intersects with 83 and goes north out of the city. Between there and Cockeysville is where this rotation is eventually going to cross. So right in that vicinity there, you can see around Mays Chapel where you see these bright green colors right there is where that possibility of a tornado is. So again, it looks like the motion on this is towards the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So what I'm going to do is do a quick storm track so we can put some times on yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm going to put a storm track on this, even though I doubt this circulation is going to last that long. But it kind of gives you an idea of where this thing's going to be. So, again, some of the areas that are going to be affected, and I'll turn off some of these cities here to make it a little bit simpler to understand. Give me just a second. And again, so you get the idea. Again, it's going to be heading up towards the Cockeysville area within the next 5 to 10 minutes, and perhaps up towards Bel Air by 4:55. And again, this is I-83. Okay, so Cockeysville. This is the MDOT here in Cockeysville, so at Shawan Road. So you can see there. This is southbound. And you can clearly see the sheets of rain that are moving across the interstate there, indicating those stronger winds. So this circulation should be passing very close to this location, at least just south of there, very shortly. So a little bit closer view here of where the rotation is, and I'll circle it. Should be crossing over 83 right now. And you can see the traffic is moving along gingerly, but notice how the visibility is getting worse. And we're seeing that driving rain with those sheets of rain as that circulation tries to cross over the interstate right now as it moves off towards the north and east. So again, actually, let's go over to what shot is this? What? It's okay, but we're looking at a different shot here. Let's go over to our tower cam, and I don't know where exactly is this?
It's Harbor Cam.
The Harbor Cam. Is this the Harbor Cam? Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. So what you're looking at right there is actually a base lowering. That's what we call a base lowering. So that's pretty much a wall cloud right there. That is looking, I'm assuming, northbound towards that storm. And you can see that there is a ragged lowering with this storm. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit closer here so I could take a look. I just want to take a peek and see if I see any rotation with it. So what you look for when you see this type of situation, you look for the clouds moving from left to right. That would indicate a counterclockwise circulation. It looks like a ragged base lowering, which is typical of storms that potentially have rotation with them. So again, there is perhaps at least a base lowering there with some weak rotation as it crosses over 83. So I'll back out of here so you can see the wide view of what's going on. We still have this tornado warning in effect for the part of Baltimore County that is really along and north of the Beltway. And this affects Lutherville, Mays Chapel, and the Cockeysville area. So this would be north of Towson and just south of Sparks. At least the polygon goes all the way up towards the Sparks area. So you guys need to take your immediate tornado precautions. Now, it looks like, as you can see, notice that you're not seeing these bright green colors anymore like you did before. So this is the latest radar scan, and that circulation has weakened. So I would not be surprised if they either allow this to expire or they go ahead and drop this particular tornado warning, because the circulation just is not quite as well-defined as it was earlier. And even then, it wasn't that well-defined, but it's certainly not as defined now as it was. But this is all associated with a line of storms with some kinks at the very end of it. The very beginning of it, I should say. And let's see, did they just drop that tornado warning? Let's see, it looks like they did. So they have just canceled the tornado warning for Baltimore County, and that's what I'm telling you. They will issue these tornado warnings for these things. It's like playing a game of whack-a-mole. If you've ever been to like Dave and Buster's or someplace like that and tried to play a game of whack-a-mole, that's when they issue warnings on these things. These circulations will pop up. They'll throw a warning on it, and it'll be gone just like that. So again, just to kind of recap, severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for Baltimore County. Still looking at damaging wind threat, central northern Baltimore County over towards Harford County, and we're going to keep an eye on these storms off towards the south and west through Montgomery County into Howard County. They do not have a severe thunderstorm warning with them now, but we'll continue to watch them as they track off towards the north and east. So I guess now that the warning has been allowed to expire, or at least has been canceled, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. We'll send it back over to Denise and Vic.